We're back on Sports 225, and I am joined by Ben Love, the editor of Tiger Rag. And if you remember back in the beginning of the show, I alluded to the fact that when we last saw Ben Love, he was still single. Now back on the show, he's a married man.
That's right.
And he went on a honeymoon, which I want to catch up on a little bit. And I mentioned that in the past year, it seems like everybody's getting married. Hannah Griff got married, Matt Moscona got married, at least 3 from the Baton Rouge media.
Yeah, but I think I'm the only one to experience a hurricane twice due to my honeymoon. We were in the Dominican Republic when Isaac started to come through, so I have now experienced Isaac twice.
I did not know that.
That's rare, isn't it?
Because I made the joke, I want to hear about the honeymoon. I don't want to hear too much about the honeymoon. But what day did you get married?
Got married on August 17th.
Okay.
So it was a Friday. We left that next morning, Saturday. Flew down to Punta Cana for a week, which is beautiful. And about 5.5 days into a 7-day trip, Isaac. But it wasn't that bad. It was a lot worse here for us. We lost power for 5.5 days in Baton Rouge. We kept drinking pina coladas and stayed by the pool in Punta Cana, so that was better.
So you did not evacuate?
Did not evacuate. Flight didn't budge a second. No problem getting back into the country, nothing like that. But then we get to Louisiana, and all of a sudden it's a problem.
Now, whatever I think of the Dominican Republic, the first thing I think of is baseball because of all the great Sammy Sosa.
Come to the Dominican Republic. Remember all those commercials?
Yeah. And Dale Brown, the former LSU basketball coach, has told me what a great place Dominican Republic is. Loves going there. I think you're going to have to double check this.
Fact check you.
But the president of the Dominican Republic went to LSU, or there's some connection there with a high-ranking official. And
I didn't look.
Should have paid more attention. Yeah, you might have had never know, you might have gotten an extra story out of it.
That's
I'm
true.
sure you were working hard on your honeymoon.
Did
you follow sports when you were there?
No, I got to tell you, I turned my phone off. It's the first time probably in 4 or 5 years I've done that. I didn't have a phone or internet for 7 days. It changes your life. I mean, for the better. It's unbelievable. I did about a week's worth of Tyrann Mathieu stuff right before the wedding. Worked up until the day of the wedding, basically, on Tyrann Mathieu dismissal, where he's going, rehab, everything. And then I just shut it off. Pretty awesome.
Wow. Now, when you got back, soon as you got back to, where'd you fly? Did you fly to Atlanta, for example?
Yeah, exactly.
And when you got to Atlanta, did you turn your phone on and try to catch up?
My wife and I both did, and I think we had a combined 550 emails, and so we both started sorting through them. Had a little layover, so we ate a dinner where we didn't talk a whole lot, just cling, clang, 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 going back on what's going on. So, back in the American lifestyle.
They'd been married a week by then. They were sick of talking to each other.
Yeah, no, not quite. I just think we realized the world had gotten away from us, and as thrilled as we were to turn the phones off, it's addicting. You turn it back on, all of a sudden you're right back in the lifestyle.
Yeah, well, on those kind of trips, you leave the number for at least one important family person. Hey, if it's really important, but if it's important, it's got to be better, like life and death.
That's
in
right.
your case, did anybody call you and say, hey, there's a hurricane coming?
Well, we called them. We said, what's going on with this? We're not watching a whole lot of TV on it. The only thing we're catching in the room is whatever's on the TNT Espanol. So, what's cracking with Isaac, pretty much. And they gave us the story, but no, not a lot of communication.
Did you watch any sports down there in person? Like, did you see a soccer game, or do they play cricket? I don't know.
No, it's baseball and soccer. But
yeah.
I did talk baseball with a couple of the locals extensively, and they just Big Poppy's not the new guy, but he's the biggest guy now. They love the Red Sox down there. Love it, love it, love it. And Pujols, of course. Those are the 2 big ones that they can't stop talking about.
Ben Love is the editor of Tiger Rag, and we may even talk some sports at this point. And I'll transition to that since you gave me the segue. Before you left, you talked about Tyrann Mathieu, and the last thing he did before the honeymoon was work on his exit strategy.
That's right.
You returned just in time for the season opener, Little North, Texas, last weekend, and then this past Tuesday at the LSU press conference. It only came up one time, Tyrann Mathieu coming back to school, and Les Miles played that very close to the vest. Didn't really have much to say about it, did he?
I think that's the reason there's only one question, as we all know at this point how predictable that would be, and what his answer would be, and the main theme of, well, he can't play in 2012, so I don't care. And that's kind of what Les gave you, but he does say, he's a quality young man, all the things you'd expect him to say. But I give Tyrann a lot of credit, and those counseling, and maybe especially his uncle Tyrone, who's kind of his adoptive father, because he's doing everything he would have to do so far. And for you or I to say we're privy to whatever checklist that he may have from LSU as a university, compliance, Les Miles, that's BS. None of us know everything he would have to do to get back. But I would have to imagine going to rehab, admitting you have a problem, trying to seek help, get counseling, and coming back and enrolling in school and paying your own way. I would have to think that those are some of the criteria. So will he ever play at LSU again? I don't know. I think it's a long way back. I think there's a lot of hurdles to get over, but none of this can hurt is cause to maybe getting back for 2013.
Now, you take it that way. I look at it just the opposite, and I say to myself, he's doing everything he can to make himself better and more draftable come the spring.
Maybe so.
You know,
Maybe
so. Yeah, they look at him and say, okay, well, he got himself clean, so the spots he lost because he got kicked off the LSU team for using drugs, well, he's rehabbed, he's done all that stuff, so we elevate him right back up again.
And they sent him to the, I hate to say this, but the drug whisperer, John Lucas over in Houston. So maybe that gets better, and maybe he's ready to be drafted in April, but I don't think it's impossible that the guy comes back and maybe has a redshirt junior in 2013. I don't know if LSU's going to let that happen. So maybe that's where he makes a decision, hey, do I go pro or do I come back? It's basically, will they have me back? And if he sees the writing on the wall in April that he's not coming back, I think you may be right.
Let me ask it to you a different way. You graduate this year, let's say you're a 2013 spring graduate from LSU.
Yeah.
And you're going to make how much coming out? Unless you're, you know.
A lot.
No, I'm saying if you're just a regular student.
Oh,
if you're just,
if you're
some
just
kid,
a regular student, you're not
right.
getting a job, or you're
yeah. So you're just some kid coming out. You're going to make
$35,000
if you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
You know, and maybe some jobs you would get more.
Yeah.
So conversely, if you're Tyrann Mathieu, and even if you drop down, let's say to a third-round draft pick, but you make an NFL team, how much do you make for the rest of 2013 as an NFL player?
A lot more than you would in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
You would hope.
Yeah,
I can't say that for sure, but
and he wouldn't, right? But he wouldn't have his degree yet either.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
Know,
So
yeah.
no, I mean, from that standpoint, it's a no-brainer. But if you get that's the thing too. Is Les Miles, LSU, all these people, they have resources that people let them know. Hey, here's where you're projected to go in the draft. Michael Brockers last year, one of the things he said at his kind of "Hey, I'm going pro" press conference was, "I was told I'd be a first-round draft pick. You know, I graded out that way." Well, he was. If Tyrann Mathieu gets a sense that maybe he's a third-round draft pick, and the writing was on the wall that if you keep on the track you're on, LSU will have you back, why not play in 2013? Why not become a first-round draft pick? Because then the guaranteed money is, 10 times bigger than what it would be if you're a third-round guy.
Does a guy who seemingly maximized the physical abilities he had, 5'9", pretty quick, as good a year last year as a sophomore as you could ever possibly have? I mean, it'd be hard to ever have a year as a defensive back of that magnitude and of that impact. Could he raise his stock?
I think he could, but here's the biggest problem. LSU's losing a lot of their big-time guys in the secondary and on the defensive line. You would think they're going to lose them in advance of the 2013 season. I mean, a lot of draftable juniors, Eric Reed, Daryl Simon, Sam Montgomery, Kiki Mingo, maybe even Benny Logan. Well, if you're all of a sudden not playing around that cast of characters, your opportunity to make plays, you got to think it goes down a little bit. So you'd have to consider that. But if they'll have him back and his draft stock doesn't appear to be first or second round grade, my guess is that's the route that he goes.
Interesting.
But I think there's a long, long way to get there. I think LSU's going to intentionally put a lot of hurdles in front of that kid because they put their neck out there for him a lot already. And for people that have told me, well, he deserves a second chance, hadn't he already had 3 or 4?
Well, yeah, he had.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
this isn't a second chance. This is a 4th or a 5th chance if it happens.
Right. It's never been announced, that it was testing positive for drugs. But if it was at least 3.
Correct.
To get to this.
Correct.
Right. And if he was kicked off the team permanently then would become unpermanently if he got back.
It's funny how that happens in sports, man. Especially when you're good.
Yeah, the Jaguars is a tough road to hoe coming up here, and coming off the 66. Where I was going with that, I knew I was getting somewhere. I yearn for the day in the near future, and I think this is going to happen, where there'll be like 70 teams, and they're going to be told you can only play each other. They're the BCS teams, the ones, and you can only play each other. So the rented games will be a thing of the past. You play 12 games, and you're going to play them against your conference opponents, and you're going to play them against real teams. And finally, we'll get all the matchups eventually that we want. And
then you'll find every LSU, Alabama, USC, Oklahoma of the world will be racing to the bottom. Give me Wake Forest. Give me Washington State.
Oh, for sure.
Give me,
Oh, yeah.
I was about to say give me Baylor. That's kind of a different story these days.
Right.
Don't give me Baylor anymore.
No, but the shame of it is, and the only part of it that it's a shame, is that the teams like Southern that can go finance their athletic department for half a year through one football game, playing the big guys, that's the bad part.
I agree.
The other side of it, though, is that we shouldn't see games like LSU North Texas and LSU Towson State and whoever it is they got coming up in 2 weeks.
Idaho.
Yeah, Idaho, 2 weeks from now, a week after Washington. The BCS team should play the BCS teams. There, I'm off my soapbox, thank you. But I'm sure you got to agree with me.
Yes and no. I mean, these layups aren't bad. And, the people over at LSU, Verge, Osbury, everybody, they schedule strategically to get some of these games placed in between tough games so that they can have soft cushions to land on. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have soft cushions. If you want to make this a little more like college basketball, if the whole season matters, kind of like the college basketball tournament does, well, then play the good teams. But even then, I mean, some of those college basketball first-round games are hideous.
Hideous.
I mean, aren't they?
I don't know. You and me, it's kind of like a 1 versus 16 sometimes. All right, Ben
Good
Love is
God,
here.
which one am I?
This is more like an 8-9 matchup.